Okay, so here we are on page 8 of processing data. If you haven't watched my video for pages 1 to 7 and you need help with pages 1 to 7 of processing data, then go back and watch that one. But otherwise, let's keep moving forward, page 8 through 11. Okay, so page 8 wants us to just kind of experiment with this function called increment count. That's a part of the tabulator structure. So let's do a couple of these. I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of them down and take a look at how it works. Okay, I've pasted some shows in here, and it looks like it does count the number of exact instances, but it doesn't account for the lowercase stuff like we fixed in the earlier versions of it, and the count ends up going into looks like a key value kind of thing. So we got a string, colon, and then the value. String, colon, value. That could be a dictionary. So it's an array of tabulated values. All right, moving on. Finding the most and least popular shows is straightforward. Okay, so next page it wants us to kind of do some work to figure out the most and least popular shows. It gets us kind of started here with a function that's going to take in this tabulated values, and spit out an integer. The index of maximum integer and the index of the minimum. So it wants us to complete these functions to return the indices of the items with the maximum and minimum counts in an array of tabulated votes. All right, so the way we're going to do that is we'll start by declaring the max index. So the max index, and we don't know it yet, so we're just going to start it off at 0. Okay, then we got to do a for loop through all of the tabulated values. Okay, so we're going to start off with the for loop that looks a little bit like this. Let me talk you through this for loop. For I, most people do I, for I in 0 through the tabulated values count. So basically this is the index, and we're going to go through this count, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. However many tabulated values there are, we're going to count them. -1. The -1 thing is weird, but it's basically because let's say you have one tabulated value in there, that's going to be at index 0. So we have to start at the end. So this is a way to make the index match the number you're on, essentially. Okay. Just do it. Just add that -1. Then we're going to add this if statement in here. Then we're going to check to see if the tabulated values at the index that we're at .count. Why is .count there? They made this really confusing because count is a thing for an array, you know? So that's what I thought it was talking about, was the array count. But what they're actually talking about is, if we look at the previous page, let's go ahead and look at the page before this, and then look at, this is what they're talking about, the count. So in this case, the count is actually 3. It's not the count of the items in the tabulated array, it's the count of the occurrences. They should have called that something different, not count. That makes it very confusing. But essentially we're checking to see if the count of occurrences of this particular tabulated value is greater than the count of occurrences over here for the maximum one. So the max index count. All right, I'm gonna have to write this out in English because it's confusing me now. So when they say count, they mean number of occurrences in the tabulated value. Okay, when they say count, they mean the number of occurrences in the tabulated value. And when we say max index, we're talking about the index in the array of tabulated values. So max index is the index or the location of the biggest count we have found. Okay. So what we're saying is this a bigger number than this? If so, then the index that we're at, this index that we're at, it's the new max index. Okay, hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. I almost even want to replace this with its own variable. That's like, so now it's a little bit more, it'll be a little bit easier to read. If the show count, the one we're checking, is greater than the biggest show count we've seen yet, okay, that's when we reassign the maximum index. The new index is going to be the maximum index if it's bigger. Okay, so hopefully that helps explain that little section there. Then the last thing we got to do is just return the max index. And that's going to return the biggest index of the biggest index of the show that got the most counts. Fine, we'll make it a let. Okay, so index of minimum, it's going to be like very similar, but we're just going to check the opposite count. I think that's it. Test your functions. All right, let's test our functions out. So we're going to find the show with biggest count first, and that is going to be the index of maximum from the tabulators to tabulated values. All right, so show it the biggest count. Well, that's not exactly true. It's going to be the index of the show with the biggest count. Index of the show with the biggest count is the index maximum from here. All right, so it's saying it's 9. And then let's do the opposite after that. And so that is 3. Now what's interesting is it's giving me different results there. Print. But that could be because it's maybe a dictionary, and dictionaries aren't always in the same order. So let's just check the most popular show first, and that's going to be the, so we got to use the tabulator. And then we got to take those tabulated values and find the one that's at the index of the show with the biggest count first. Okay, and then we'll copy that and throw it down here and find the least popular show. And instead of that, it's going to be the show, index of the show with the smallest count. Index of the show with the smallest count. Okay, let's see what it's given us. Ocean Express, 128, and then Perfectly Imperfect with 9. All right, let's try running this again. So I'm going to hit the play button again there. Same. 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 Now you notice the number up here changes, and I suspect that's maybe this is functioning as a dictionary, and dictionaries you can't always, aren't arrays. Arrays are ordered collections. Dictionaries, they're unordered. So the order of the dictionary might change, but the answer should still be the same if the items inside the dictionary are the same. Let us continue. So it wants us to build an algorithm to print the 3 most and least popular shows. So it says 3. It wants the 3 most popular shows. So it's like we could loop through 3 times and remove the most popular one, perhaps. So let's see. It says it wants us to find the index of the maximum, append the show to an array, remove the show. Yeah. Okay, got it. So let's do that. So it's saying we want something to happen 3 times. You can do a for loop for 0 through 3 essentially. So, or for 0 through 2. Yeah. For I in 0 through 2. Oh, I'm sorry, 0 dot 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 2. So that should print 3 times, I think, right? Print, and let's print I. Let's just see what happens here. It should go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 times. You could also, I guess, do from 1 to 3. You know, 3 times. Maybe that reads a little bit better, so we'll use that. So now we've got I, and actually I want to use 0 through 2. Now, I don't even know if we need this I, because are we even going to use it? I don't think we're even going to use this I. Okay, but let's just keep moving forward. So we'll just run our algorithm 3 times, right? And then remove it. So the first one is, so let the, so it's the maximum first. So let max index equal index of maximum. Indexes show what the index of maximum from all the shows that they list up above there, all shows. Okay, so it's finding the max index. It should be the same each time, right? So if we printed out the max index 3 times, it's going to be, yeah, the same. But that's because we got to now add it to like an array, or what does it want us to do? Append the show to the most popular. Okay, so most popular dot append, and the new element is they want the tabulated value in there, not just the index. So we have to do like all shows, and then the index that we just found, the max index, something like that. So now we're saying take that, add it to most popular shows. Then once we've added it, now we have to remove it from the existing array. I'm glad they made this a variable, so it should be a little bit easier. So then remove it from all shows. So all shows dot remove at, and remove it at that max index, right? And that happens 3 times. All right, so let's print out the most popular shows here just to see if it's working. Print most popular. Yeah, it's looking pretty good, right? Most popular is there. Let's make it a little more expressive by saying most popular and then printing it. Okay, so this is the most popular one. Now let's do the least popular one. It's going to be very similar. I'm just going to paste this down here. So again, we're looping through 3 times, printing I. We don't even need to print I, do we? Max index. So instead of the max index, we're going to find the minimum index, the index of minimum from all shows. So it's going to find the minimum index, and then instead of the most popular, we're going to find the least popular, append it at from the minimum index. So it's the minimum index, append the least popular show, and then go to all shows and remove it at that minimum index. This, of course, only works because I guess there's a bunch of shows on there. If you had like only 2 or 3 shows on there, you might have your app would probably crash. And yeah, look, it says we don't need that I. So we could replace it, honestly, with like this underscore. We don't really need it, so we'll put an underscore there. So instead of most popular here, it should say least popular. Three, twice. There we go. Least popular. It's one disadvantage to copying and pasting things. All right, so least popular is great, and most popular is Ocean Express, Sternboard 5, and least popular is Perfectly Imperfect at 9, 13, 15. It does seem to be working at this point. Okay, let's look at page 10. Ranking. To rank them by popularity, you use some statistical calculations. Okay, so it wants us to group all the shows into 3 tiers following the algorithm above. The code is partially completed. Use the comments as a guide. Print out the groupings when you are done. So it's going to have us put them all in either not very popular, moderately popular, or very popular. So the first thing we need to do is like figure out the median, right? So is that something that they've already done for us? Yeah, there's a median function and median absolute deviation function. We'll give you the median absolute deviation. Okay, I don't know much about math, but let's give this a shot. So let the median, then we use the tabulator actually. Tabulator dot median. And then let the, what do they call that thing? The freaking median absolute deviation. All right, I'm going to copy that because I don't want to misspell it. Median absolute deviation, and I'm going to assign that to the tabulator, not tabulator, tabulator dot median absolute deviation. So it looks like 46 is the median and 20 is the median absolute deviation. If the show's count is less than the median value minus the median absolute deviation, it's not very popular. All right, so there's some math for us. If the show's count, so if the show count, so again, this isn't the, this is the value stored in the show for the count of times that people are watching it. So it's like the popularity. So if the count is less than the median minus the median absolute deviation, I'm just following along what they say here, it's not very popular. So then it's we just add it to not very popular dot append, and append the show. So we don't have to remove it from the array at this point. We just keep going forward. Or else. So let's do else if. And then we need condition here. Else if the show's count is greater than. All right, so I'm going to put this in here. So if the show's count is greater than the median value plus the median absolute deviation, it's very popular. Thankfully, they did the math for us because I don't know what they're talking about. I'm just going to follow what they say here. If the show.count is less than, is greater than the median plus the median absolute deviation, then it's very popular. Append the show, and then like everything else is moderately popular. Right? Otherwise it's moderately popular. Okay, great. So I'm going to copy that. I'll throw that comment in up here just so I know what I'm doing here. Print out the shows in each tier. So what's last? Okay, popular, medium, let's take a look at this, and least. Very cool. So we learned a little bit about math. As a bonus, like as if you need a bonus after this ridiculous assignment, modify the code above to print out the count ranges for each tier. All right, so here's your bonus range with the ranges. And they got the range by pretty much like looking at the math that's involved here and subtracting 1 or adding 1 because of the way the index works. But there it is. Okay, let's wrap it up. All right, page 11 is just an overview of what you've learned. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. I know I even struggled with that one a little bit. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, everyone stay safe out there and keep on coding.